Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar entitled Building a Scalable and Successful Telco Marketplace Strategy in the Anything as a Service Economy. In this session, we're expanding on our webinar from earlier in the year, which answered the question, what is a marketplace? We'll be covering exploring the challenges facing telcos today, looking into how to transition from a communication services provider to a digital services provider, and finally outlining best practices for facilitating a positive customer experience. Our speakers today are Darek, Tasak, and Vish Kumar. Darek is Global Head of Strategy and Commercial Operations at CloudBlue, an area which encompasses strategic alliances and partnerships, go-to-market services, pricing, contract management, as well as the delivery of commercial programs and initiatives. Vish is VP of Industry Solutions at CloudSense and has extensive experience working in all areas of telecommunications, including with VNOs, wholesale, SMBs, and the B2B and B2C spaces. Before I hand over to them, I want to let the audience know that we will be answering questions towards the end of the session, and you can post your own queries at any point during the broadcast by clicking the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen. So without further ado, I'm going to hand you all over to Darek Tasak. Darek.
Thank you, Edward. To get us going, let's maybe start with a small recap of what we talked about last time. And let's look at the key areas that telcos are currently engaging in, both coming from the research information that we have, coming from our kind of marketing insight research, but also the day-to-day work that we do with them, with the largest telco services providers around the globe that are already our customers. Internet of Things is clearly a major area of investment and focus for the telcos. On one hand, it's obvious adjacency. There is a connectivity component of IoT that's obviously part of the business model within Internet of Things. However, as we know, over the last 5 to 6 years, a lot of telcos want to get out of that, just a component of providing the connectivity element, but they actually want to be a proper service providers where they provide a much more complex, much more value-added solutions in the area of IoT. Cloud computing remains to be a very big area of interest for the telcos. It has been evolving in years. Today, it is less about selling telcos' own computational and infrastructure capabilities. So it is less about providing own cloud infrastructure to their customers, but it's much more about working with the large public and private cloud providers and enabling the multi-cloud and hybrid cloud solutions for the telco customers. Connectivity and 5G remain big focus areas, obviously, as this is the bread and butter of the telco, so no need to elaborate here anymore. Cybersecurity as well is a very dynamically growing area that we see in the communication service provider space. Cybersecurity is clearly very close to telcos' heart. They have experience already securing the network, the communication part of this. But what we see right now telcos doing is actually going after every single aspect of cybersecurity, every single aspect of interaction between humans and technology. And the last area, content and streaming, maybe it is a little bit less prevalent, but for the telcos for whom it is really important, it remains a very high priority. A lot of the telcos around the world have been traditionally very dissatisfied with their role in the streaming industry, where they basically provide cheap pipes, plumbing, for other players, for the streamers to actually skim all of the profit and all of the value from the top. So now some of these telcos are actively looking for ways how to climb the value chain ladder a little bit here. Obviously, no market trend slide would be complete without numbers. So we have some numbers for you. And depending on who you ask, the numbers are going to be a little bit different. However, there is a pretty broad consensus among the researchers that if we just look at the size of digital transformation opportunity in the SMB space, it's anywhere from $1.5 to $2 trillion spend that is going to go there over the next years. And that is important for the telcos, obviously, because SMB is extremely important segment that telcos are already touching. Every SMB has connectivity products already, so every SMB is a customer, and ability to touch that massive spend is clearly exciting for the service providers. If we just zero in on one part of it, which is the size of everything as a service telco opportunity in B2B space, we see that different sources give us anywhere between 400 to 700 billion opportunity right in there. So it's absolutely not a surprise that 3/4 of telcos have active strategies and plans to try to get a piece of this attractive pie. Now, as most of us know, having a strategy and executing on strategy are two different things. So we thought it's important to also talk about the challenges that we see those telcos and the telco executives facing, or their perception of the challenges that they have in order to successfully go through that digital transformation journey. We use numbers that are coming here from research. They come here verbatim, and some of them are questionable, but they do come from a survey that was done with some of the telco executives of the largest communication providers out there. And we think that these numbers are very interesting to kind of deep dive into. The first and the foremost is that 1/3 of executives in the telco industry believe that they lack relevant internal skills in the different parts of their organization. That number, we left it here because that's what the research is saying. The reality is, from my experience working with the telcos, I believe this number is highly understated. My personal guess would be that it's north of 80% of the telcos that we work with do not have the skills, and it's across the board. It's in the sales processes, it's in the operational capabilities, and it's in the technical capabilities as well. So let's look at the sales skills, for example. Every telco has a sales team. Every telco has an account management team and a relationship with their own customer base. So there is this prevalent and very often naive thinking that that in order to have the sales force enabled for selling new digital products, what we basically have to do is give them offerings, give them the catalog, then provide them with some kind of a collateral about value proposition, and off they go, happy selling, and bring us some additional revenue and help us to manage the churn of our customers. That's never happening. That's a simple reality. We've seen this being tried over and over and failed. The very simple truth about those new digital products that telcos want to bring to market is that they're much more difficult and they're much more technical in nature for an average sales rep to be able to express properly to the customer. Let's take an example of cybersecurity package being sold to an SMB customer. These customers will want to know, how will the endpoint protection on my mobile work with the security of the backend that is in the cloud? What about email that I already have? What about my local files? How do I get them migrated up there? How do I get them protected with the solution that you're trying to sell to me? And that is not something that a traditional sales force, which has been focusing on selling mobile plans and internet plans, can properly handle today. Same thing goes for operational and the service delivery skills. So if you just look at the telco support structure and the process, it's all geared towards break and fix today. So my internet is slow, my roaming doesn't work. All of that has to be transformed into a much more knowledgeable and proactive, very often outbound activities. So, for example, doing welcome to service calls. Hello, sir, madam. I understand that you just bought this cybersecurity service from us. Let me help you get it activated. Let me help you. Let me walk you through the process of configuration. I'm going to make sure that your phones are being protected. I'm going to make sure that it works with your backend systems, with your CRM, with your ERP. Some of these might be in the cloud. I will configure internet security so that you can access your data from anywhere you want. Again, this is not something that a normal support organization is able to do. And on the technical side, similar challenges. So the telco IT has lots of experience in provisioning of telco services and almost no experience in provisioning any other services, particularly when they are provided by third-party suppliers. So you have to work with their backends, with their backend systems. You have to work with their APIs, and that is something that is not natural to the telcos, even though they have system integration capabilities, and in many cases, very, very good ones. Still, the idea of going one by one, point to all these different providers that need to be part of the modern catalog is simply not an option. It's way too slow and way too costly. Which takes us to the second point, which is the cost. 46% of the surveyed executives are saying that the costs of this transformation are inhibitive for them. And it's not a surprise. If you try to close all these gaps that I discussed with your own resources, with your own capabilities, and hiring more people, first of all, you're going to have a massive problem of cost, but also you're going to have a time to market problem, right? There is a learning curve before you learn all of that, that your solutions are going to be very late to market compared to others. Telcos have also their core business to take care of, and that's the main business that they have to take care of. So what is absolutely necessary would be to integrate all of this new world of digital products with the existing offering, with the existing portfolio, and using the existing telco technology. However, there is no option of just getting rid of existing legacy technology, because as we know, telcos tech stacks are very complex. They are very intertwined with their business processes. And there is simply not an option of replacing all of that with a new shiny toy and saying now the new toy is going to do everything for you. And that's why 3/4 of people responsible for this basically are telling us that they don't know how to do this. And all of that leads obviously to an obvious conclusion that once you put all of those challenges together, it is becoming very, very difficult for the telco to establish any kind of a business plan that hits the normal corporate KPIs of return on investment that the telcos expect from their investments. To add salt to the wound, there is a completely new layer of challenge which has to do with customer experience and how you take this to the customer. And I'm going to ask maybe Vish to talk about it.
Thanks, Darek. So customer experience is really interesting now, where we're starting to see telcos being faced with the challenge of the experience from customers being extremely demanding. And it's not demanding in the sense of it's really complex and I need technical people at my feet all the time. It's actually, they're looking for things that they're experiencing in their day-to-day life. A lot of telcos and a lot of users are used to using companies like Amazon and Uber, which form part of their day-to-day life. So Amazon provides an experience where everything's available any time of the day, and it's really easy to search and get things done. Uber provides the simplicity and knowing it's reliable to say I can have someone available to pick me up and take me where I need to go as quickly as possible. Telcos are now being faced with this challenge from their own customers saying, I need you to be able to be everything to me to solve all my connectivity issues, but also all my security issues and all of those third-party app issues that we're facing and we're increasingly seeing as a demand today. What they also want is that flexibility to say, I want to order that at 2 o'clock in the morning because that's what's keeping me up at night right now about my business. So this convergence now of technology and experience is becoming really impactful to the industry. And this forms a lot of challenges within every telco's IT stack, and then also how they bring this to life, knowing that there's a lot of different applications and also a plethora of different suppliers that they need to bring this to life with. But the industry now is facing a conundrum of how do I provide everything? How do I do it easily? And who do I do it with? Darek, do you want to take us through how do we solve this problem?
Yep. Let's talk about. We talk enough about problems. Now let's see how we can actually help solve some of them. We're not claiming that we're going to solve all the issues out there, but we do believe that we have a significant value proposition to bring to the table. Let's maybe walk through the journey. This is the typical journey that we see the telcos take to become a digital service provider. These are the telcos that are successful in this. So we're going to use good examples here and maybe try to abstract it into that 4-step process that we think is very important. Step number 1 is what we call publish, which is the creation, or it's a curation of your digital catalog. So in really simple terms, in most of practical cases, what we see is telco would start with some selected products, and we believe that fewer is better than many. But typically these products are either in the software as a service area or infrastructure as a service. And this is kind of a core catalog of products that telco is then interested into adding to their own connectivity offering in order to drive ARPU on one hand, but also help manage churn. As we know, the more products customer has from the telco, the less likely that customer is to churn away. So that is the publishing phase, creating of that catalog. The interesting part about the catalog is that although, as I said, fewer is better, meaning fewer products you have in there, it's more focused, it is actually better, and you have more chances to succeed. The reality is also there is no one portfolio that is good for all different telcos. So depending on the type of business that you have, the business profile, who your customers are, whether you're targeting SMBs or you're targeting enterprise, or how your business profile looks like, that small focused portfolio is actually going to look different for the different telcos. So what is also very important is that you're using technology that allows you to quickly onboard those new solutions, not to onboard 100 of them, but to onboard the 5 or 7, but that are relevant to your customers. That was step 1. Step 2 is what we call propagate, which is once you have that catalog out there, you want to make it available and consumable to the different sales channels that you have. And those sales channels can be very different. And it's extremely important to be able to propagate across those sales channels accordingly. One of those sales channels could be your own marketplace. So you can launch your marketplace, you can make it public, or you can keep it private. So it can be used private as a kind of ordering tool for your sales reps, for the assisted sales motion, or you can make it publicly available to your customers so you can do self-serve or consumption on their own. So that's one way of doing it. Another way of doing this, if you're a multi-country telco, what's very important for you is not to let the different opcos and not to let the different countries deal with pain on their own, but create a mechanism where you have a main master catalog that you can then efficiently and quickly push out into those different opcos so they can do business with that catalog. It doesn't mean that it has to be the same catalog in every single country. You want technology to be flexible enough to let you craft that catalog into something that is specific to the markets, but you do want a system that is central and that allows you to kind of manage that process one-to-one. Another aspect of propagation are hyperscalers. If you have your portfolio, would it be possible for you to publish into Amazon Marketplace or into Azure Marketplace? Is that possible to do it out of the box? And it is. There are technologies out there, ours among others, that allow you to basically automate all that process and create completely new streams, completely new channels, digital channels for your use cases. And last but not least, a propagation example here would be a geographical expansion. So I already talked about the multi-opco, multi-country approach, but what about countries where you have no business? You may not have business in multiple countries around the world, but the offering you have, your digital offering, maybe your cybersecurity solution that you created, is actually extremely valid in those countries. And you do have partners in those countries where you have roaming agreements, where you have wide area network agreements. So why not make these partners, enable these partners to also commercialize your cybersecurity solution into their own customer base? What we see as step 3 very often in the journey is that once you get this thing going and it actually shows that early success, what the telcos then want to do is to expand. So basically they want more of it, right? They want to throw additional elements. Very often these are the things like hardware, or these are the things like own services, so own know-how, telcos own professional services and managed services capabilities that they want to externalize and want to be consumable, that those services by the third parties. In this case, a great example of that would be, for example, UCC. The Unified Communications and Collaboration Tools. They often have this component of hardware. You need certain equipment to end up in the actual meeting room, your big TV, your cameras, etc. You need obviously the software, which is at the core of the solution, but you also need services of somebody who will take that TV into the meeting room, somebody who will actually do the cabling, somebody who will do installation, configuration, etc., etc. So this is a package and of different types of products, very much different from your own offering, that you do want to be able to deliver seamlessly. And then the last element of the journey is obviously the scaling part, and that's extremely important one. So in principle, you could wing it. You could basically somehow with manual processes and workarounds approach that step 1, 2, and 3 in order to put something out there in the market that it actually is available. But the issue is, of course, if you try to wing it and you try to orchestrate that UCC solution with emails and sending Excels and making telephone calls to your installation partners out there, this is never going to scale. It's never going to get you to the point where it actually moves the needle in your organization. So, and if it doesn't scale, it is useless. So you do need a technology that underpins that digital service provider transformation journey. And as we talk about the technology, this is pretty much what it is, right? This is how we see the foundational architecture of everything as a service marketplace. If you look at this piece in the middle, it is a technology stack. And if you look at the functions that are required, actually, you will probably see that all of that, almost all of that, is already delivered by the technology stack of most of the telcos. Obviously, the telco business is a subscription business. There's a way to do fulfillment. There's a way to bill as a service. There is a way to manage the life cycle of that subscription, of that telephone contract. The challenge with this is that the telco technology really addresses the lower part of the slide. So it basically gives all these features and functionalities for the connectivity solutions. It is not fit for purpose in order to address the left part of the slide here, which is that vendor ecosystems. So these are the software as a service, infrastructure as a service, hardware as a service providers that would need somehow be integrated into this technology stack. Obviously, it also has challenges on the go-to-market ecosystem once you put those two portfolios, these two different portfolios together. And maybe Vish, you want to take this one?
Yeah, so the biggest challenge we face in this space is we're working with telcos, and as Darek mentioned before, time to market becomes a really the current architecture and the current strategies that most telcos have been for 10, 15, 20 years, where it's been a focus mainly on the core connectivity side of things. Now we enter a realm of bundling, and we enter a realm of new applications and new things changing. The current architecture now is put under a lot of strain, and the IT teams are put under even further strain in terms of how do we bring this all together and make it really simple. So let's go to the next slide and have a look at some of the other bigger challenges we face, especially around the cloud integration space. So we all know these cloud providers in the market are extremely big. They're really, really relevant today, and they will be tomorrow in terms of where our customers are going, in terms of how the future is going to be laid out in terms of the ecosystems between private and public clouds. But the biggest challenge for telcos today is, how do I go and create a relationship with all of these clouds? How do I bring them into my ecosystem? And then how do I make them work together with what I already have, with my connectivity solutions that I'm selling to my customers? Now, coupled with that, we understand the financial stresses right now in terms of the compression on margins, the cost to actually implement this, but then also the challenges of setting up commercial relationships with everybody down the left-hand side, and then managing all of those contracts year on year, and also the customers that need to go with them. So CloudSense and CloudBlue have come together, and let's just go through in terms of what we've done to help build this and support your ecosystems. Let's go to the next slide. So as Darek mentioned before, the SaaS and the IaaS and all of those professional services sides of things, they become new vendor systems. We understand that. We also understand that these new clouds need to come together as well. But in the middle, with CloudSense and CloudBlue coming together, what we enable you is to have a fully functional marketplace which supports all of those clouds, all of those services, but then using CloudSense's capabilities for your deal management, your contract support, your subscription management, and handling all your complex catalog and commercial requirements. We support the idea of all of your normal traditional connectivity products and also all those advancements that you have within the 5G, SD-WAN, etc. And the benefit of means that we can allow you to bundle them seamlessly. You can create commercial offerings that are really relevant to your market. And also you're removing the need to have multiple portals for your customers to come in and order and manage from. We're creating a one unified place where you can sell all of these products, have one contract, and also bill simply out of your own billing systems as opposed to having to have multiple ones. So Darek, do you want to just take us through, I guess, what are the things that what are the key benefits now of this go-to-market system as we go forward?
Yeah, thank you. Obviously, on the go-to-market system or the go-to-market ecosystem side, the key benefit of what we are describing here is the ability to manage both your direct and your indirect business in a completely seamless manner coming out of the same technology stack. So you do not have that separation between this is my direct business, this is my indirect business. You can support any kind of a go-to-market motion in a completely unified and way. And what is extremely important is fitting within your existing sales and business processes that you're already using in order to support those different channels that you have. So in really simple terms, the combination of the technologies that we are explaining here is able to integrate the connectivity solutions with that extended digital offering coming from third parties, but presented as one single entity, as one single catalog that can be consumed through any channel that the telco wants to support, and using the same existing processes. So whatever the quote to order process that you have currently is, without reworking this and without changing the way how you work on the front end, you can now consume the entire enhanced catalog. We have mentioned at the beginning of this conversation some of the challenges that telcos face. So now that we are coming up to close and coming up to our time for this session, let's just quickly have a look. Did we actually address them? Are we talking? How are we addressing those different challenges? So the first challenge is lacking relevant skills. Obviously, as we're trying to explain here, we are advocating that you use existing technology, that you use existing ability of fully automation of the catalog, and both the catalog and the commerce experience, rather than building your own bespoke solution and trying to do all these integrations in a point-to-point manner. In terms of the sales and support capabilities, obviously technology does not address them, and we know that they are important ones, but we do have also something to help you with. So, for example, in CloudBlue, we have a team, we have an entire business unit that basically provides assisted sales and premium customer support for all the services that you may want to commercialize, particularly the services that you do not know and you do not know how to sell them and how to support them. We can provide a white label resources that work as your agents, and they literally can do both selling as well as supporting of your business on a BPO type of a model. The cost issue that we discussed is massive. We are trying to solve it with our pricing model. So what we have as a pricing philosophy is we have established a low entry barrier. We want you to be able to start working with our technology with the least friction possible, with the concept that you only pay for what you use. So you only pay for the modules and functionalities that you use. We have a modular pricing architecture that follows our modular technology architecture. And the idea here is that this model that we call pay as you grow, as in we monetize the relationship with our customers as they are being successful. We are either successful together or we fail together. In terms of the challenge of integrating with existing channels, obviously, that was the main part of this presentation where we talked about that ability to provide out-of-the-box unification of both telco and the digital catalogs, which addresses completely that problem of integrating of those two separate worlds into one offering that you can put out in the market. And all of that leads us, so the cost benefits of leveraging existing intellectual property, so existing solutions that have been already out there, that we've invested a lot in, that we've been trying and proving out there in the market, working with the largest telcos around the globe, that it obviously gives you a benefit of driving down the total cost of ownership and being able to establish a business plan with a workable return on investment. Edward, back to you.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Darek and Vish. That was a very in-depth and interesting presentation. So before we get to questions, we have time maybe for one question. I just want to take a moment to announce the recent integration of the CloudBlue and CloudSense platforms, so making them ready to deploy for telco marketplaces. We're very excited about this. If anyone who has tuned in is interested in a demo or have any other questions, we'd be delighted to hear from you. You can email either Vish or Darek on the email addresses shown on the screen now. But we'll also be sending you an email shortly after the webinar with a link to an on-demand version of this very broadcast, but also to a short video demo so you can see it in action. And finally, if any of you happen to be at the Digital Transformation World event in Copenhagen next week, you'll be able to speak to us in person. You can find CloudBlue on stand 307, and we'd be delighted to say hello. So like I said, we've just about run over our half hour. So, but I do want to get one question in quickly. We've got one asking that, so throughout, Darek, you've been talking about how you can't just remove telco systems, willy-nilly, but, I still get the impression that you're completely taking over the front end. Can you kind of explain whether that's true or how that isn't true?
Sure. The answer to that is my favorite answer to everything, which is it depends. It really depends on what your needs are and what your use case is. So yes, it is true, we may take over the front end if you choose to do so. So if you, for example, are running or you want to run your order to your quote to order process, your CPQ process using CloudSense technology, then obviously it is going to be the front end for you. If you choose to use CloudBlue Marketplace in order to do your management of the licenses, uplifting, downsizing, whatever it is on an ongoing management of the licenses, of course, it is going to be your front end, but it's not mandatory. It's an option. You can as well. Our technology allows you to integrate to other solutions that are out there, including your own. And in fact, if you look at the large telcos around the world, that are our customers, a lot of them use that capability and they actually integrate into their own front end where they provide their own technology. Very often it is bespoke. So we are not necessarily taking it over. We are only taking over those functionalities that are at the back that are needed in order to deliver that unified experience. And it's not only about front end. The same things goes to the back end. So our system is able to do all the billing that you need for everything and invoicing for everything that has to do with subscriptions. But obviously, you may want to have one integrated bill for your customers for everything that you commercialize to them. So you might choose to just take the rated and billed information from CloudBlue and feed it into your own existing ERP so that you have this one integrated invoice for the customer. And that is absolutely possible. In fact, if you choose not to use our billing and invoicing module, you actually don't have to pay for it. And that goes to that modular pricing architecture that I mentioned before. You only pay for the capabilities that you use.
Okay, well, thank you, Darek, and thank you to everyone who tuned in. I think I'm going to close out the broadcast for now. We've run over in time a little bit, but I think it's just good use of our time. So yeah, anyone who has any further questions can, of course, contact us at marketing@cloudsense.com, or for that matter, together at cloudblue.com. We wish you a very nice rest of the day, and thank you very much.